Welcome to the Everything Coworking podcast. This is your host, Jamie Russo. Thank you for joining me today. On our last episode, we talked about areas in which co-working space owners tend to overspend. So if you missed that one, when you're done with this one, or pop back to the last one and listen in or watch us if you're watching us on YouTube. This week, we're going to talk about areas in which co-working space owners tend to underspend. So this is a good pairing to give you some ideas to think about. And I just posted in our school group to ask folks to share from last week's podcast, what are areas that they've spent in that they, if they had a chance to save another operator from making that investment, they would. I think it's really hard as business owners to know where to spend, where not to spend, how to evaluate the ROI, because sometimes these are new areas that we've never invested in before, and we're going to cover some of those today. So one of the best things you can do is lose the ego and ask. And ask in a forum where you know you're going to get really good input from experienced operators or coaches. That's why we run our operator membership, because we want you to get input from people you know and trust. And people for whom you have the context, like where do they come from? How big is their space? What do they tend to spend money on? Because you don't want to ask somebody who's like a chronic DIYer, right? And doesn't run a profitable space. They might tell you to not spend money on anything. So you really want input from folks who have similar goals or similar spaces to what you have, and people who have experimented and learned, right? We all make mistakes, and one of the best things we can do is share our mistakes with others or our wins with others so that others know where to invest. So that's partly why I'm doing this podcast, because through our memberships and our one-on-one work, we work with hundreds of operators every year. So we really get behind the scenes on what's working and not working. Okay, so this week we're talking about areas in which operators tend to underspend. Okay, I'm going to dive into a couple that are for pre-launch operators, or if you have an existing location, but you're thinking about some upgrades or you're thinking about expanding, then these are for you. Okay, the first one is soundproofing. Yeah, I hear you. You are probably nodding your head. Aside from probably the internet, sound is the next issue that can come up in a space. And internet is like less and less of a challenge these days, because internet is less of a challenge these days because the technology has gotten so good. If you have fiber and you have really great infrastructure, you're probably in good shape. Soundproofing tends to continue to be pretty mysterious, and it's going to vary a lot based on the resources that you have in your local market that you pursue. I always say you have to be the quarterback for your project, right? You have to kind of know enough to ask the right questions when you're doing construction, when you're setting up a marketing team, when you're doing all the things in your business that have to get done. You can't be an expert in everything, but you really have to push for what you need. And one of the things that you need in your space is soundproofing. Now, there are lots of trade-offs that are going to come into play here, and I'm not going to go through all of them in detail. For example, one of the trade-offs that we make when taking a new space or expanding is we might take a second generation space. That means we're taking an existing space that has existing walls, and we're not going to do a lot of construction. We're going to rip down the walls. We're going to make a lot of new walls. So we're making the trade-off of long-term revenue versus upfront costs. And that is a real life trade-off that a lot of co-working space operators make. You might have a smaller space. You might be an asset owner who does not have the CapEx to start from scratch. So generally, if we're going to optimize long-term revenue, we might start from scratch on a layout. The office sizes are optimized. The location of meeting rooms, break rooms, et cetera, are optimized. Or sometimes we take a second generation space and we do our best. So you may not be able to impact the soundproofing as much on a second generation space. Unfortunately, it is very hard to mitigate sound issues when you're not doing construction from a shell condition, because the mitigation is really in building the interior walls to the deck, putting in insulation, putting soundproofing every little nook and cranny that you can find, sealing, the area under the doors. There are a lot of materials that you can use in the construction process that will help to create less sound leakage. HVAC. The HVAC is a big leakage factor. So if you're just running HVAC from one office to the next, a lot of times that's where the sound comes from. So it's hard to fix this after the fact. You certainly can put in things that mitigate the sound. We used to, create art out of foam boards to sort of absorb sound. You can install sound masking systems, which are pretty expensive, but they can solve the problem if it's a big problem. So the first choice, the first that's the word I'm looking for, area of defense is to start when you do construction. But after that, if you can't build from scratch the way you should build with a consultant who specializes in sound mitigation, because a lot of general contractors are not going to be experienced in doing this, or they're not going to do it well. You really have to have an expert on your side, and that's going to be worth it. So find somebody local who can help really guide your general contractor and make sure that it's done properly. Because again, it's very hard to fix after the fact. And again, if you have to fix it after the fact, then you're probably installing fairly expensive sound masking systems. But here's the problem. Just like a phone booth, if folks can't sort of bear with the amount of sound that gets transferred between offices, and here's the deal, generally people are in offices for sound privacy, right? They're on Zoom calls, they have client calls, they might have sensitive information, they might be therapists. Therapists is such a growing segment for co-working space owners. I mean, we see co-working spaces that are specific to therapists, but we see therapists joining sort of generic co-working spaces as well. And sometimes we'll see, in a therapy specific space, they'll put like the little sound machines on the door handles. That works if everybody's a therapist, right? But in a general co-working space, that's not going to fly if somebody's distracted by that like sort of louder white noise that's just attached to somebody's door, or one of those little mini sound machines that somebody might put, right next to their door. So this is really important in terms of attracting and retaining certain types of members. And again, oftentimes people want that office because they want sound privacy. And so if you don't have it, or it's really distracting, then you probably have an issue in attracting and retaining. So it will cost you money. So you don't want to underspend on this area when you're building a space or when you're mitigating sound in your space. Again, this is going to depend on the ROI for you individually. If you have a very small space and the sound masking system is very expensive and it would take you, a very long time to pay that back, then that may be a tough decision. And you might just be better off kind of waiting for the right members to come along who can deal with the sound. Other things you might do, you might give out sound canceling headphones. I actually just got a new pair of AirPods, and apparently I'm like behind by a generation because I never had sound canceling feature to mine, and it is life-changing. And they were $118. I would pay that all day long. And by the way, that's a business expense if you order through your business account when you use them for work. So you certainly can do things like that, or give out, the sort of physical over-the-ear headphones that are noise canceling so that people can't hear other people's conversation. So you can get creative, but you want to invest in solving that problem for your members. Okay, again, this one is for our pre-launch or our expanding operators. We will get into things that are for operators who are already operating. The next area that operators tend to underspend on is small private offices. Again, trade-offs. If you're taking a second generation space, one of the biggest challenges you're going to find is the offices are too big. They're probably all 150 square feet to 200 square feet. The challenge with that is most co-working space members who need an office don't need an office that big. Sure, they'd love it, but if you're trying to price by square foot, so let's just zoom out a little bit. If you're trying to get to a target of roughly $70 a square foot in revenue, in order to do that, you have to roughly price your monetizable space by square foot. So if you are selling someone a one-person private office that is 120 square feet, they will not pay the per square foot dollar amount that you need to get to contribute to your $70 per square foot because they don't value it generally. You will get people who do. They want a bigger office. You might have a premium offering. There are reasons that, this is not always going to hold. But in general, a one-person private office is 80 square feet. It might be a micro office. It might be 57 square feet. WeWork sells 36 square foot offices. So, it depends on your segment and what they expect, what their office size is at home, what their budget is, et cetera, what type of market you're in. But in general, I see offices that are just far too big for what people want and are willing to pay for in terms of the price per square foot. So you really want an office that is, exactly right for the budget of a one person, which is usually 80 square feet. Maybe a little bit more, maybe 90 square feet. 90 square feet is definitely a two-person office if you want to get a little bit cozy. The challenge is that small offices are expensive to build, so they don't tend to pre-exist in second-generation spaces because building one-person offices for individuals on a fixed basis is really a co-working space business model, right? It's not a tech startup model. It was never an attorney model. Anybody who has, a lot of private offices, we're making larger offices usually. So because of our business model, we prefer to size the offices for the exact need, which means pre-existing space doesn't tend to have it, and it's expensive to build. So an 80 square foot, if you have 80 square foot offices instead of 120 square foot offices, you have a lot more, maybe not a lot more, you have more 80 square foot offices in a given amount of space. And that means you have more walls, more HVAC, more electrical, more sprinklers, more all the things that cost a lot of money. So up front, it's expensive to build small offices. If you pro forma over 10 years, particularly if you own the building, then the ROI is very high on doing smaller offices, building and investing in smaller offices. If you've signed a 5-year lease and you're renting the space, then the ROI will be much different, but you're not going to hit the $70 per square foot revenue target, which means your margin's going to be lower because when you have a sub-optimized floor plan in terms of revenue, you still have all the same fixed expenses. You still have the same rent per square foot. You still have the same staff costs. You still have the same internet, the same hospitality costs, all the same operating expenses as a really efficient space. It's just that your space is not revenue efficient. So your margin's going to be lower and your revenue per square foot is going to be lower. Well, that's what causes your margin to be lower. Your expenses are the same, your revenue is lower than optimized spaces. So again, but it depends because access to capital or the return on that capital can vary greatly depending on the space, the term, whether you're leasing or not, how much TI dollars you're getting from the landlord in your deal, et cetera. So you need to do the math. You want to be very, very careful about this decision, how big your office sizes are, and how many of the offices you invest in. But your pro forma, from a revenue perspective, will always be better with more small private offices versus large private offices and versus co-working or dedicated desk. Almost always. Send me an email if you have a scenario that is different. I know there are always exceptions, but rule of thumb, you want to think about it that way. So if you are already open and you know your offices are too big or you don't have enough small offices, you've got that waiting list for 1 to 2 person office, what can you do? It really depends. Now, if you're at the beginning of a long lease and you have some capital, create some offices. Do the math. I did this in 2 locations. I did this in again, I don't tend to think about business from an N of 1. I'm telling you what I'm seeing in the marketplace from working with a lot of operators and a lot of P&Ls. so that you're not getting, the experience of only one person. But I do have personal experience in this, so I'll share it. I had a space in Chicago and a space in Palo Alto and added offices to both of those locations because the investment was warranted. We had enough time for the payback, and the revenue opportunity would be much lower without that investment. We also had the capital. So, and the ability to manage the construction, although no matter how well you can manage it, it still tends to be fairly disruptive unless you're using a really good wall system. Falk Built is one. If you're interested in that system, one of the teams in our operator membership is a reseller. They're also a designer. Hold on, sliding glass door, they all have systems that can help you create smaller spaces where you don't already have them. Again, there's an investment, but you just have to do the math and see what the ROI is. So some things to consider if you're new or you're under optimized. Another area for our pre-launch operators, or if you're expanding, or if you have a space that's hard to fill and you can't figure out why, phone booths or some sort of acoustic pod. So not everybody can afford an office, but most people want one because of the sound privacy. It's just really unusual to have a co-working member who can afford co-working space in their business income or disposable income that doesn't need to have private calls, business calls, who are comfortable. There are people, I cannot relate to these people because maybe because of the type of work I do, I'm never comfortable like talking about co-working businesses in someone else's co-working space. I know people set up like Work Bar has this neighborhood design where if you go into their switchboard neighborhood, everybody's on the phone. It's totally cool. You put on your noise canceling headphones and you have at it. So with intention, it is possible to avoid the need for phone booths. It's really hard. If you have a smaller space, you don't have room for those neighborhoods. If you haven't designed in those neighborhoods, they don't exist. And then it's going to be really hard for you to sell that open space to anybody who's really has the means to be a long-term member. Again, I'm speaking in generalities, but it's what we find. People need at least the option to take a phone call. It's very hard to give your own schedule. Do you have a day where don't have some call that you have to take that really you'd be more comfortable taking in privacy, like not in a co-working space where people are kind of working quietly, et cetera? I know that's a real challenge for me. It's very hard for me to have a day where I have no, outbound interactions, which is part of what I love about my job. So my business. So consider that for the people you're selling to. If you have phone booths, and I know they're an investment, we're talking $6,000 plus for, a good, comfortable, acoustically sound product like a room phone booth. But so I totally get it. But if you wait to invest in those, you can lease them, by the way. So there are, I think, at the time, the last point that I looked, we had folks in our operator membership who were leasing them and monetizing them. So I would say that's another thing. If you have to charge for your phone booths in order to get them, do it. Because that probably means maybe you have a smaller space in a smaller market and there are no other options. So people are just stuck at home working, and maybe you're out of offices and you're not selling your flex memberships because they don't have that option to pop into a phone room. So even if they had to pay for it, I am happy to pay for it. Or you can certainly build. I would be careful about building because like we talked about earlier, making those acoustically soundproof in quotes is very hard. I would just buy the booths. Look on Facebook Marketplace, look in other Facebook groups. Like you never know what you might find in your market. Bigger companies have phone booths that they sell. So there are lots of places where you can buy phone booths. Very is another option. Like a lot of folks have phone booth products, but they're really, really important, even though they're expensive to put in terms of your long-term revenue. Because if you can't sell co-working memberships because you don't have phone booths or you don't have enough of them, then that's going to impact your revenue projections 100%. Okay, we are going to transition out of some of the things that operators tend to underspend on at the beginning and talk through some of the areas that happen after opening. Okay, so this section is about marketing and visibility. I often see, and some of my colleagues feel the same way, operators underspending on professional photography. Now, I want to be clear. Don't let the lack of professional photography get in the way of putting yourself out there. But if you are just opening, back to our just opening crowd, the first thing you should do before you have humans messing up your space is do a photo shoot when the space is sort of immaculate and you can put people in, but the trash cans are still empty. You don't have cords everywhere. It's nice and clean and photo ready. Photo assets are so critical, especially assets of your meeting rooms and your common areas and any bookable resource. Because today, our bookable resources like a day office or a meeting room or a day pass are going to be actions that a user takes online, and they're making quick decisions. They're not coming in for a tour, so you can't show off how beautiful your space is in real life. You need your photos to speak for themselves. So think of it in terms of an e-commerce purchase. A user is on your website or on some other platform, and they're looking at the photos and making a buy decision. So those photos need to be really beautiful and represent your space really accurately and help someone really decide, is this the right space for my meeting or my day office use? So get those professional photo shots taken right away. Now, if you've been open for a while, it's time probably to do some updated photos, especially if you never invested in great photography in the first place. So this will take some more organization because you're going to need to identify where you wanted to take the photos. You're going to have to make sure that it's a time where the lighting is good, which is probably during the day. So you'll have to block off those assets so that you can get good photographs. Taking photographs at night is really tricky because now either, if you have window lines in the rooms, which is very compelling for the buyer, then you don't want it to look dark outside and you don't want to have the shades closed. So you really want to do them during the day, but we're getting into details here. So you want really great photography, like stellar photography. You know who has great photography is the Pioneer Collective in Seattle. I've talked to Chris about how important photography is. They do really well with their meeting rooms, and he thinks it's partly based on how good their photography is. So check them out. And you're going to invest a couple $3,000 in space photography. And it's super important. Get somebody who comes with really good referrals, look at their portfolio, someone who does real estate photography, but is very good in incorporating models, because you're going to want to have humans in the photos in addition to a beautiful space. So make sure you have somebody who's very competent with both. You're going to have to recruit some models. Again, I'm not going to go into great details about how to host a photo shoot, but give all of these things some thoughts, plan accordingly, and budget accordingly, and make that investment. Okay, also on the marketing front, SEO. You might be running Google ads, or you might not really have a marketing budget. And let me start there. Let's start with the broad marketing budget. You absolutely cannot operate under it if we build it, they will come approach. Co-working requires active marketing. You're either in a market where people don't really know what it is yet and you don't have a lot of competition. So the marketing dollars that are being spent in your market, if you're in a smaller market or new to co-working market, are that marketing spend is low. And so there's not a lot of investment going into awareness building. So you're going to have to do that either with dollars or with efforts around getting out into the community, hosting events to get folks into your space so that they learn about co-working and all the other amenities that are at your space, meeting rooms, event space, etc. So you either need an actual dollar budget or you need a time and effort budget. But you need one or both in a small market. And in a big market, you absolutely do, because there's more competition. And so you have to make sure that you're showing up in searches and that you are also top of mind and in that consideration set, because somebody's going to tour 3, maybe to 5 locations to make their decision. And you absolutely need to be in that consideration set. And that happens because of marketing. Not always paid ads, but when I work with clients who are running paid digital ads, typically through Google or on the Google platform, not through Google, but they, at least half of their traffic is coming from paid ads. So it is a significant traffic booster. That doesn't mean that all leads are created equal. I will often look at a sales funnel and the organic leads are the strongest and close the fastest, which, could be for various reasons. But paid ads can drive significant traffic and make sure you are part of that consideration set. So you absolutely need to have a marketing budget. What does that look like for a space? I mean, the rule of thumb for a small business is 8% of your revenue. I find that most co-working spaces are not going to spend that much, although that really depends on what your revenue is. If you are in a smaller market, then you're going to want to be budgeting for awareness campaigns on Facebook. You probably cannot afford to outsource having somebody run your Facebook ads unless you have a member who is going to give you a really good friends and family deal. I work with some operators who are very good at doing trades and bartering. Oftentimes, that does not work very well because expectations tend to not be clearly communicated. It can be awkward when somebody's not pulling their weight. So I don't usually recommend that you barter. So you may need to learn to run Facebook ads, meta ads, I'm including Instagram there, on your own. If you're running Google ads, then you're going to spend probably thousands of dollars on those ads and then invest in someone to manage those ads for you. And then you're going to want to really track that spend through your sales funnel. Even for activities that you're doing in your community, always be asking how someone found out about you and try to document it, because ads are relatively easy to track, nowhere near perfect, but you can get a pretty good sense of what leads are coming from your ads. And because usually you're asking, you have some mechanism to get a name, email address, or at least you're tracking, clicks and conversions so that you know the effectiveness of spend on paid ads. But when you're doing things like hosting events or going to the chamber events and giving out your business card, or just kind of more general networking, it can be very hard to track how those conversions play out in your sales funnel. So just do your best. Always ask how someone heard about you and document that in your CRM or whatever tool you're using to track leads, and try to look for some patterns and look for the things that you think are working, even if they're not 100% trackable. Also, under marketing that folks tend to underspend on, which I just referenced, is a CRM. Sometimes they overspend. I think that was one of my overspend notes on last week's podcast. But I often see operators who are not investing in a CRM. You can use something really simple like a pipe drive, which has a pretty low monthly rate and will allow you, just give you a really systematic way to manage your pipeline. And then it may have integrations with like your email system for newsletters, and you can usually zap leads back and forth between your space management platform. Your space management platform generally does not have a CRM. So some of the platforms are working on making the CRM aspect more robust, but you're always going to be better off using a CRM that's purpose-built for tracking leads. Because tracking leads is probably the most important thing you can do for your business. We could argue about that all day long. Retaining members is very important, and all the things that you do that go into member retention. But without members, you have no business. You can't pay your rent. You can't pay your team. So you need to attract members, and they need to be tracked. And a CRM is the best way to do that. If you're trying to use a spreadsheet or something else, it's just usually doesn't really work very well. It doesn't. And a couple of things around using the CRM. One, you absolutely do not have to go straight for a HubSpot. As a matter of fact, I think most co-working space operators that don't have several locations are not great HubSpot candidates. It's a very expensive platform, and you pay a very high amount every month in order to get even basic functionality. So you want to use something like an active campaign, a pipe drive. I use CoLevel with a number of my clients. So I'm in their CRMs and I know the system really well. And that works really well. It's a little bit more expensive because it's more than a CRM. It does document signing, it does social media management, it does automates reviews for you. You can manage your Google business profile in it. You can do a lot of aspects that you would need other kind of tech subscriptions for. So it's really an all-in-one platform. And the CRM, I use it for my own business as well. So that's another option to take a look at. I'll put a link in the show notes. But you really want to make sure also that you're investing in your team using the CRM and using it completely. I almost always see that there's a gap here, and understandably, because everyone on a co-working team is busy and wears many different hats. But the utilization of the CRM is so critical in terms of tracking leads really cleanly and making the lead process a good experience for the lead is critical and requires the use of the CRM. And I always use the hit by the bus example. We don't ever want anybody to be out of the office, but people go on vacations, people transition in and out of the business, and you need just absolute clarity around what's going on with leads when that happens. So investing in a CRM and making sure your team is fully trained and committed to using it is usually an area of underspending. So give that some thought. Another marketing component, which I started to refer to earlier, is SEO. Again, sometimes we go straight for that paid marketing budget, or we're going for sort of the network and hustle marketing budget and ignoring SEO. And oftentimes it's because you as an operator don't know how to do SEO. That is definitely changing. Claude Cowork has a plugin for SEO that allows you to do a lot of SEO related assessments and provide some great tools. Your organic traffic is going to be your best leads because they're going to be sort of actively searching local options. And if they find you organically versus through an ad, wonderful, lower cost of acquisition for you. And we tend to find those leads are a little warmer and tend to show up for tours and close better. You only know this, by the way, if you're using your CRM. So in general, this also means, in terms of SEO, not just your website, but optimizing your Google business profile. Other local citations, like if Yelp is highly used in your market, or certainly having your Google reviews, those can be very important. And then there's basic on-page SEO, and then neighborhood level landing pages can be a good investment for many operators, especially if they're working in a bigger city and they need to stand out based on location. The long game here is that you may need to use ads. Maybe you need to use ads forever. It may be that you're always going to be running, kind of a background budget of Google ads or Meta ads in order to retain your traffic. But you want to keep that as low as possible by building up your organic search results so that you're showing up without ad spend for people who are looking. And SEO is really important as we see AI come into play. The AI tools like a ChatGPT or a Claude are looking for the same signals that Google looks for when it presents results, search results. It's looking for reviews. It's looking for page authority. It's looking for keywords that match what the user is looking for on a landing page. So if you have those things in place, that's great for traditional SEO and for SEO through the AI tools as well. And I cannot stress this enough. Keeping up with your Google business profile, if you've been listening to the podcast for a long time, I could not be more passionate about that listing. It's so important that you refresh it all the time with reviews, with posts, with photos. Every week, something should be updated on that post, and it should be completely filled out, complete. Keywords, products, everything you can possibly fill out should be filled out in your Google Business profile. So I run a membership for operators, and one of our members, David Tosi, so kindly offered to do a workshop on SEO. And I think we're just going to open it up to the broader community because it's so kind of him to offer to teach and because it's so useful. Everyone needs it. And it tends to be an area of mystery for operators. And we see operators, hire agencies to try to solve this, or maybe want to do something a little scrappier and go out to Upwork, but they're not sure what they're looking for. So on April 16th, David, who's the co-founder of Spoke Coworking in Tucson, is doing a special training just for CoworkingSpace operators on SEO. He's done a lot of this work himself at Spoke. He has a technical background, but he loves to kind of get into it. So this will be a real hands-on knowledge from someone who's in the trenches. So I will put the link to that in the show notes as well. And please join us if you want to demystify SEO and learn some of the tools that can help you do it yourself, or at least be smarter about the investment to make if you're going to hire somebody else to do it. Okay. The next area in which operators tend to underinvest is auditing their business. I hope you're still with me. I know this is an in-depth episode. This happens to everyone. Every time I work with an operator or one of our Profit Accelerator members on auditing a website or a sales funnel or a customer journey, I try to remember to tell them, look, it's totally natural that you're not spending the time on this. We're seeing the things that someone else's eyes can see. Totally normal. It happens to all of us. It happens to me. It happens to anybody who has a business because we're just kind of moving and we know too much about our business, right? And then we tend to not sort of go back and audit things. That's no fun. We're on to the next thing for sure. So here are the 3 audits that I just mentioned. The customer journey audit, walking through your space, mystery shopping your own space or asking someone to do it for you, and looking for friction points in the sales process, which we'll talk about next. But it is part of the customer journey audit. What is it like to sign up for a tour? What is it like to get onboarded? So really going through step by step and figuring out what does it feel like to go through this as an actual member and what could be improved. And it's really hard to know that just by observing on your own, because again, you just know too much about your business. And you also don't necessarily know what are the benchmarks? What could the experience look like? So I love to have somebody mystery shop, could be someone in your network. That's probably the best approach is to have somebody in your network who has like a marketing background or a sales background or something that could help, somebody who knows what they're looking for. You also could create a checklist for them. Sales funnel audit. I work with folks on this all the time. We're all moving too fast and oftentimes don't spend the time to really document the metrics and then track them over time. And it is getting easier and easier to do this, especially if you're using a CRM. I mentioned CoLevel above, creating standardized reports for the folks that I work with who are in CoLevel. But it's any platform that you have with the tools and AI. It's so easy to create dashboards to help you really find the gaps in your process. So sales funnel audit, knowing the conversion rate at each stage of your funnel. This can be just so insightful. We tend to jump to conclusions about what intuitively we think might be the gap if we're not filling offices fast enough, or we don't have the right co-working memberships. We're not ramping up as fast as we'd like. We have more vacancy than we'd like. Look at the conversion rate at each stage. Is it that you don't have enough leads, or is it that you're not converting enough leads to tours, which could be your sales process, or it could be the health of the leads? Are you running leads? Are you getting leads from paid ads? There's a lot of tweaking that can be done when you're running paid ads to attract the right people. Landing page strategies, when you're working with professionals like the folks over at Spacefully, They don't know the quality of your leads until you tell them. So I spend a lot of time with the folks that I work with evaluating, are these leads coming in for tours? Are they ghosting us? We're adding, custom fields in the CRM to track this information. But a lot of times, like, your team's not going to know to track that unless you tell them. So you have to really be thinking about your sales funnel and what you want to track. Is it the next stage in the funnel would be, okay, once they've booked a tour, do they actually show up? I see challenges with show up rates. Why is that? Is it that there's not enough personal outreach in between the book a tour stage and the showing up for the tour stage? Do you not have the right automations in place to make sure that they're reminded? Are you not using SMS tools, which is such a great way to get in front of people these days because they're reading their text messages and not their emails? Like, is it your messaging? Is it what is it that is the gap there if your show up rate's not great? Because you can't close a lead unless they show up, right? And then once they show up, you have a very high chance as long as you're doing the right follow up. And then how many how many leads that actually come in for the tours are you closing? So you want to measure each piece of the funnel, and we could get more granular than that, but in general, you want to be looking at those and tracking those over time and tracking paid leads versus organic leads. So make sure you're paying attention to all that and tracking it and trying to improve it every single day. Competitive market audit. What's your competition doing? Sometimes we're worried about our pricing or not worried enough about our pricing. But I see a lot of operators who just don't really have a sense of what's happening in their market. And there certainly are AI tools that can help with dynamic pricing on-demand spaces. That only works as if the market is big enough for that data to be there. And lots of you are operating in smaller markets where AI is not going to have enough data to do like really true dynamic pricing. So you want to be paying attention to what the other options are in the marketplace. I see event spaces that are priced too high. I see discounts that are too deep or freely given. I see a big range of challenges with pricing. So you want to really do a market audit and understand, like, A, what's your position in the marketplace? Who are your true competitors, both from a proximity perspective and from a positioning perspective? What are they doing? What are they offering? How can you compete on value, not on price? So, but really having that data and doing it probably quarterly is really important. Okay, let's recap a little bit. So last week's episode was a little bit about not overspending, keeping things lean, keeping things real based on the business model of co-working and what it can handle in terms of expenses. But this week's episode is much more about what you can't afford to underinvest in. So let me do a quick recap in case you zoned out at any point. Build out decisions. Soundproofing, the right size offices, generally on the smaller side, phone booths. Marketing and visibility. Professional photography, a must. Total ROI, you will get more bookings. SEO. You might be running paid digital marketing. You want to make sure that in parallel, you're investing in SEO that will work for traditional search engine optimization and also search that's now happening on AI platforms. Marketing broadly. Make sure you're testing marketing activities. Some of these may be sort of the local network and hustle variety. It might be paid campaigns. It might be analog things like yard signs or radio ads. Test and then make sure you're tracking the return. And if the tactic is too expensive and you can't track it, it's probably not a right fit for the co-working business model. But you can't do no marketing. You have to figure out what's going to work for you based on the market and based on the competition in your space generally. Having a CRM, making sure you are really on top of leads. My 2026 phrase is radical responsiveness. And one of the best ways to do that is to have a CRM that has a chatbot that can answer leads after hours when you're not there, and that can help you see immediately when a lead comes in and help you really prioritize on being responsive asking questions, building relationships with leads before they even get into your space. And then auditing your business, the customer journey, the sales funnel, and your competition. So keep these things in mind if you're thinking about investing. There are never, rights or wrongs, but there are areas that generally tend to make sense for our business or not. And it's always a good idea to find operators that are similar to your business or maybe a little bit ahead of where you want to be and talk with them about what they're doing, lessons that they've learned. One amazing thing about this industry is people are always willing to share. And that's one of the things we do inside of our operator membership, which you can find on our website. Okay, we'll see you back here next week, same time, same place.